Welcome back. Even though some of the Assembly members, 10 of them, believe that the Assembly crisis in Kogi State is over, the other 13 embattled members do not think so and are hoping that the National Assembly, that is the House of Representatives, will be able to deal with the challenge. The ad hoc committee set up by the House of Representatives is resuming sitting on Wednesday, and there's hope that the members of the committee will be able to find an end to the crisis. The ad hoc committee is looking into the case. 10 members of the House have continued to carry out legislative functions. Some appointments by the state government under the leadership of the Governor Yahaya Bello have been approved by this 10-man legislature. But the question is, can these approvals stay in the eyes of the Constitution? Joining me now on the News at 10 to take a look at the situation in Kogi State is legal practitioner Mr. Ebu Adeburuwa. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. And we're back to discussing the situation in Kogi State. The National Assembly looking into the situation has asked the police to seal off the Assembly, but 10 members have access to the Assembly and are legislating for the state. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the development in Kogi is quite very unfortunate because as of this period in our national development, certain issues should have become predictable, should have become determinable, especially the issue of removal of Speaker of the legislature. There is no way a House constituting over 20 members will sit with only 5 of them removing the principal officers of the state legislature and then proceeding thereafter to be conducting business of the House on behalf of other members. We have settled this matter up to the Supreme Court in the case of Inakojo and Adeleke, that when it comes to removal of principal officers, you can only deal with 2/3 of majority of the members of the House sitting in any particular proceeding. So what is going on in Kogi State is a democratic anathema which should not be tolerated by any instance whatsoever. So I think that when you look at what is going on in Kogi State, what's going on in Edo State, what went on in Rivers State, it will seem that the governors are becoming enemies of democracy, if I can use that word with some caution. And the reason why I say is that there is no House of Assembly in Nigeria that is so independent, that is left alone to perform of his own constitutional responsibilities without the governor bearing down on them. As a matter of fact, most of the House of Assemblies of the states are more like appendages of the executive, and that's what's happening in Kogi State. The governor knew from the time when he was called upon to inherit the votes of a dead man that he was from the same ethnic origin with the Speaker of the House, so he should have declined to even contest the election if he didn't want to emerge from the same senatorial district with the Speaker of the House. That should not be a reason to remove a Speaker of a House.
Now that the 10-man legislature has made approvals for the state government, we understand they've gone ahead to pass the budget for the state for 2016. Is this legal?
Of course, by all stretch of any imagination, that cannot stand the test of constitutional legality. What is going on in Kogi State is total abandonment of respect for law, respect for the Constitution, and I think all of us of democracy will have to call the governor to order. If there is a motion passed by the House of Representatives asking that legislative activities in the House of Assembly be suspended under Section 11 sub 4 of the 1999 Constitution, that becomes binding until it is set aside either by the House of Representatives itself or by a law court. So whatever they do after a motion had been passed and a decision had been taken by the House to seal up the Kogi State House Assembly, passing of budget, approval of appointment is clearly illegal. And I think what we are witnessing gradually is that everybody is becoming a law unto himself. There seems to be something passing down from the higher quarters of impunity. It's coming from Aso Rock, it's going to House of Assemblies, it's going to governor's quarters. Everybody seems to be disregarding the courts, disregarding the laws of our land. And I think by now, given that we are in a regime of change, we shouldn't be seeing a situation in which 5 people will still be sitting to be impeaching a speaker in the House of Assembly.
But if 10 people seem to be making the laws for the states and are approving the budgets, I mean, who's there to stop them?
I believe that as we are now, the authority that the House of Assembly has to conduct any proceeding is the Constitution. And so once you are acting contrary to that Constitution, anything you do has no legality, has no backing. So it's like people just sitting there to do the will of the governor. And this is a governor who is sitting on a half seat. He's an interim governor. You don't even know the position he will occupy after the outcome of the election petition tribunal. So I think in Kogi State in particular, we should work by the constitution. Until there is a contrary decision by the House of Representatives, whatever they do in the Kogi State House Assembly is unconstitutional and it cannot stand. And we shouldn't be encouraging such impunity at this stage of our national development.
And let's look at the intervention of the House of Representatives. The ad hoc committee resumes on Wednesday to continue a probe on the issue. At this point, what is expected of them to do?
Well, I believe that as we speak today, the matter is already in the Supreme Court. I understand from the news today that the Kogi State government has filed a suit before the Supreme Court to interpret Section 11 sub 4 and 5 of the 1999 Constitution. So in that regard, if the House of Representatives has been served with a copy of that suit, surely they have to suspend that proceedings, because the National Assembly cannot be struggling jurisdiction with the Supreme Court in respect of matters for judicial adjudication. So if that is the case, it will be well advised for the House of Representatives to suspend further proceedings pending the determination of the Supreme Court of the crisis in Kogi State House of Assembly.
Mr. Ebun Adegburuwa, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
It's time now for business news. Let's join Anne Wawudo.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Economist and World Bank consultant Dr. Abiodun Adedipe says the fiscal restructuring plan presented last week to President Muhammadu Buhari by the Governors Forum was incomplete. Dr. Adedipe says the fiscal plan looking to restructure the high indebtedness of at least 27 states was short on key areas in which the state governments intend to trim the various overhead expenses under their recurrent expenditure. The state government asked the Buhari administration to waive their repayment of 403 billion naira central bank bailout for at least the next 18 months. And the staff report on the International Monetary Fund released at the end of March noted a further deterioration in finances. One of the leaders of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Joe Ajaero, says the federal government can successfully run state-owned enterprises. He made the statement at the Forum on Inconclusive Socio-Economic Growth organized to commemorate Workers' Day in Lagos. Mr. Ajaero, who argues that it is constitutional for the government to run businesses, wants the present administration to reduce its stance on the privatization of public entities. Directors of indigenous conglomerate Transnational Corporation has assured shareholders that the group's subsidiaries will help to reshape the future of its financials in the years to come. This assurance was given at the 10th annual meeting of the company in Cross River State.
It's the annual meeting of Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, known as Transco, and shareholders are gathered here in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, to assess the company's performance in 2015 and shape the future. Transco had reported a 10% rise in operating profit from 13.6 billion naira to 15.03 billion naira in 2015. Giving more insights on the company's performance, the chairman, Mr. Tony Elumelu, relates the company's success to its strong asset base.
We're in discussion with NNPC to see if we can take over some of the idle gas plants in the country, especially in the Niger Delta, not too far from our plant, and help spend money to revamp these gas plants so that from the gas plant we can supply gas to our plant, pay government for the gas increased output that helps Nigeria.
The projections of a brighter future by the board members is also expected to be shaped by the prospects of Transcorp's subsidiaries.
Transcorp Power is helping to increase access to electricity in Nigeria. Increasing access to electricity will help significantly to grow our economy.
The hospitality business is improving significantly. We have the hotel in Abuja. We're doing upgrade. It's gone very far. And we have the hotel in Kogi and also in Port Harcourt coming up by 2018. All of these are to improve shareholders' return.
Transcorp's management is committed to a long-term value creation, and shareholders tend to agree to this.
The economy is not all that so favorable, but they have been able to sustain their profitability level.
The company's value chains cut across energy, hospitality, and agriculture sectors. The board is confident of creating a socio-economic impact in coming years.
Oil prices edged back from earlier highs today as rising production in the Middle East outweighed a decline in U.S. output and a sliding dollar. Crude production by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries rose in April to 32.64 million barrels per day, and that's close to the highest level in recent history. The price slide, which came amid low liquidity due to the May Day holiday, contrasted with broader investor confidence in an oil price rebound. Brent was down $1.55 a barrel, and that's about 3.3% at $45.81 per barrel. On Friday, the June Brent contract gained over 21.5% at $48.13 a barrel, marking the largest monthly advance since May 2009. Most markets across the globe were closed in observance of Workers' Day, but some finished trading in mixed sentiments. Here are some of the figures. That's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. Back to you, Amarachi.
You first. First Bank.
Next on the news at 10, red-hot Manchester City striker Kelechi Iheanacho looks forward to facing Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League at the Santiago Bernabeu. We'll have more in sports news. Stay with us.